Long-time followers of my channel might recall my first Game Boy Mega Man experience being a somewhat difficult one. The original DMG console had a standalone series of 5 of the platform shooters, each of which was a bit better than the last, except number 3, arguably, which suffered from some serious lag issues in places, ultimately peaking with the great Mega Man 4 and the outstanding Mega Man 5. While I hated the series at first, hey, I still don't really enjoy Mega Man games, and I don't think I can be convinced otherwise, to be honest. There's still plenty of merit to go around, and it can't be argued that there's some real longevity there. Capcom's series was already getting on for 15 years old by the point the Game Boy Advance was released, and with super popular NES and SNES titles in double digits by now, it was perhaps fair to say that the traditional platformers were starting to become a bit samey. I certainly wouldn't say stagnant, but a bit of a refresh definitely wouldn't have hurt. Capitalizing on the name value while it was still popular, a GBA-based spin-off series made all the sense. Mega Man Battle Network spawned its own series of games. There were 6 iterations on the Game Boy Advance alone, with entries from number 3 onwards doing the Pokemon thing and releasing 2 variants to encourage card trading, link battling, and so on between players. If you're, like me, equally not a fan of Mega Man all that much, don't let that dissuade you from at least trying this series, because this is a completely different style of gameplay. In fact, it doesn't even take place in the same universe, but a parallel one that actually seems closer to home. In this timeline, instead of Dr. Wily getting the grant to start working on advanced robotics with Dr. Light, here it went to one Dr. Hikari. Instead of using this grant to focus on installing robots into every home, he focused all of his research into the internet and the integration of it into every aspect of people's lives. Sound familiar? Well, for anyone who's played Doom on their refrigerator or got their toaster to set the DVR for them, this isn't too far off. Unfortunately, the internet got too expansive for humans to easily navigate, so these PETs, personal terminals, were created. These are what we'd perhaps call AI in our world. They'll scour the web for you, downloading answers to homework or creating artwork, music, or YouTube scripts from scratch. They can do basically anything, including fighting viruses and so on. That's a large part of what you'll be doing. Your pet takes the form of our trusty blue robot boy, and the viruses in question are often well-known enemies from the normal games. The majority of the action in the game takes place hacked into the internet in that kind of cyberpunk way. Since the internet is basically ubiquitous in this world, you can install Mega Man into most anything that's plugged in. This is a pretty cool concept that lets you explore 2 interconnected worlds. Jacking into something lets you control Mega Man within the code of that thing, allowing you to look for clues, hidden treasure, or even fight enemies and bosses. There's no tricky platforming or shooting enemies, well, at least not in the traditional sense. Being an RPG of sorts, you can expect a lot of random encounters with enemies while you're in these cyber worlds. Battles take place in real time on these 2-sided grid arenas, with you on one side of a dividing line and the enemy or enemies on the other. It's not turn-based, but attacks can be fired off once they're charged up, so you can't take your eye off the fight really. You'll get to select from a hand of random cards from your deck, which will perform various different techniques. Each card has a battle action. This could be a close-range sword, a fragmenting shot that also attacks tiles adjacent to where it lands, a cannon that hits everything on a particular column. There are hundreds of different ones with their own effects. Each card will also have a letter on them. If you select cards with the same letter, you're actually able to perform multiple things on the same turn, encouraging the player to strategically build their decks with cards that complement each other. There could also be healing cards, or ones that move the separating boundary, giving you more room to maneuver. Aside from this, while you're charging your timer up, you're also able to dodge around your part of the board to avoid attacks, and even fire your blaster off using B to get some little chip damage off on enemies here and there. Each bullet only does like 1 HP of damage, and with even the weakest foes having at least 30 HP, it's really just to fill in the gaps or take out that last little bit of health that your regular attacks didn't quite cover. I probably wouldn't try to take out a 500 HP boss with just your blaster. You'd be there all day. At the end of each fight, you'll earn a bit of cash and sometimes a new battle card based on the enemy you fought. These are used to augment your skills in future fights. What the battle system does not reward you with, however, is any kind of experience points. There's no way to grind to level up or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame and leaves what is trying to be an RPG system feeling a little empty. And once you're happy with the deck you've built, this renders the random encounters completely pointless. You don't need to augment your skills anymore, and you're not going to get stronger as a result of fighting enemies, so after a point there's basically no reason to actually fight unless you need money for some reason. Encounters then just become irritants that you end up running from once this happens, and yeah, it's a shame. Another slight oversight perhaps, and this is something common to quite a lot of deck building games, is the random drawing of cards. Whether or not you succeed in the trickier battles is kind of down to what cards you get given. Okay, so you have to know how to get the most out of the cards in your hand, what order to use them in, and what synergizes well with what, and so on. So there is a certain element of skill and knowledge, but I personally felt the battles could be far too random to ever feel satisfying. Like I say, that's not specific to Battle Network, and it doesn't stop you enjoying the fights. I get a similar feeling when playing something like Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy Color. The game does have a cheery, almost cartoonish vibe to its presentation, which I like, and the gameplay style is certainly more accessible to the, shall we say, skill-impaired gamer like myself. I could probably have done with like 40% less dialogue throughout the game, as the storyline itself doesn't really have enough meat to it to carry the amount of text you'll have to skip through. There are quite a few NPCs, but it's rare you'll gravitate to any of their personalities. Some actually come across as quite unlikable, but that could be just because they all talk too bloody much. Some other reason to bother with encounters would have been nice, but hey, the actual battle system is really good fun, with plenty of strategy to come up with, and is definitely where Battle Network shines the most. 5 sequels on one console is a bit much, perhaps, but then Capcom have always done that with their Mega Man games, and hey, no one's forcing you to actually play them all. Well, unless you're writing a book about it, in which case, more fool you, I guess.